Hello, it is Sunday. Hello. It is Sunday, April 19th, 2026. This is going to be possibly a do not poo poo this security alert for certain witnesses in the shooting that happened today in Shreveport, Louisiana. It's not what it appears to be. They're trying to, I think all five swamps are involved in this one, and it appears like they are still trying to sell the narrative to the highest bidder in whatever swamp comes forth. The headlines, when I first logged in today, I'm not getting news from anywhere since I don't get on Twitter anymore at all. So when I first logged into my email account, I got something from Yahoo Mail that said that reported this story. Now, when it was first reported, when I first went to Yahoo News, it was more like 3:30, not 6:30. When I finally took this screenshot, I just wanted to see which report where the report came from. I think it was CBS News. They weren't calling it a mass shooting at the time. They were just saying 8 children killed, I believe. I just wish I still had that original report. So it's very important why I'm trying to track down what news agencies are saying what, because they're changing their stories according to who is paying them. It's a pay per, what swamp wants what story, you have to pay us for it. That's the way the news agencies are now working. That's how badly the swamps have been imploding. So at 3:47 p.m. when I first of all, I went straight to Twitter to see what they were saying, and interestingly enough, not a single peep about the shooting anywhere. All over Twitter, nothing. Not in the hot topics, and I scrolled for about 5 minutes and found nothing on the shooting. When usually Twitter is front and center in molding the narrative. So, and by the tobacco swamp, I believe Twitter gets paid money from the tobacco. Nobody was able to afford X Twitter accounts today to form the narrative. So that was very interesting. And even tonight, 6 hours later, no news whatsoever on this shooting, which says a lot, I believe, and not quite sure what. But so then I just searched shooting in Louisiana to see what came up in the news. And what's interesting here is some of the news agencies called it a mass shooting. NBC News originally, and CNN and AP News mentioned the word mass shooting, and I think and the Guardian in England mentioned mass shooting, while CNN and Fox called it a domestic disturbance. And there's a very big difference between the two, because anybody's reporting a mass shooting when it's not a mass shooting. The last mass shooting to occur by the proper definition was Uvalde in 2022. There hasn't been a mass shooting since. But it's very tobacco swamp oriented. The tobacco swamp does the mass shootings, a lot of them in collaboration with the religion swamp. But the mass shooting, whenever you see the news saying mass shooting, it's very political. First of all, I forgot to mention, this was in Shreveport, Louisiana, in House Speaker Mike Johnson's district. So this was political from the very beginning. All right, absolutely 1,000% political. When it's the district of the Speaker of the House of Representatives of the United States. So we know it's political, very political. And now I'm trying to figure out who did the shooting and what the narrative is supposed to be. And it turns out they are sending up the narrative to the highest bidder. I just had a feeling last week when I was watching The Voice finale of the same thing. There seems to be this pattern right now where instead of paying up front for a narrative, now they're doing things like they're having the singers come on stage, and then before they announce the finalists and the winner, they put it up for, the swamps or NBC The Voice producers put it up to the highest bidder. Who wants to win? The tobacco swamp singer Liv, or the family court swamp singer JW, or I don't know what the other swamps were up there, but those were the two that were very clearly from those swamps, and they didn't win. And I was very happy they didn't win, because I didn't want those swamps to be to be in power. Anyway, it appears the same kind of thing is going on. I have a feeling that's what happened here, is there's this shooting, and then it's not very professional to begin with. But if news agencies are calling it a mass shooting, that's the tobacco swamp paying them to try to do this mass shooting narrative. If it's, in other words, they're trying to do gun control. If it's mental health, that's the pharmaceutical swamp. And this one is very difficult to, from the beginning, to figure out what the narrative was, because it took a while. And then also, it's at home, so it's domestic violence, which is family court swamp stuff going on here. And it depends on who the shooter is, and then the shooter came out to be, if it's a Muslim, then it's religion swamp. And the shooter, when the shooter's name came out as Shamar, I'm not laughing at this, but you look up his name, and even this was up for sale. Shamar was his name, but it could either be Jewish or Muslim. So even that is up for sale, which side of the coin you want to do this narrative. But it looks like they're going Muslim, so it's religion swamp is involved, family court. Anyway, in the end, I finally determined that all 5 swamps, pharmaceutical, tobacco, religion, defense contractor, and family court, are all involved in this. So when I say family court nowadays, I mean family court is also the pedophile, infantophile swamp, which is probably, I thought, was the most powerful, but they're also in the most minority people, but they also do the most damage. I'm not sure. I'm throwing spaghetti against the wall. I promised myself I'm doing a video before this day ends, no matter what. So hang in there with me on this. I'm going to go through this very carefully and try to see if I can help people to determine what happened. All my crowdsourcing rules people. Okay, we're going to protect some of the witnesses. So one of the things is it's unfortunate that news agencies are allowed to edit what they put online and keep the same link. So I have no power to, like right now you can go to this exact same link and it'll have a different headline. And it shouldn't be that way. They shouldn't be allowed to edit headlines or details and keep the same link. So I have no power to go back, but possibly people investigating this, maybe the FBI, some kind of a cyber team, they probably already know this, but you go through and you investigate all the news agencies that change their tone or do a certain story, and then you find out who is doing these changes and where the money is coming from and the influence to do these changes. So that's one way to investigate who is behind this. So I don't have the power to do that anymore. I did the best I could here. When I first took this screenshot, as I said, the ones that say mass shootings are getting kind of influence from the tobacco swamp. And so CNN and Fox started out calling it a domestic disturbance, which is accurate. If you're going to define mass shootings, any kind of domestic, if the shooter is the father or related, it doesn't count as a mass shooting, period, because that is actually the most most shootings of killing of kids in the country is the parents shooting them. And if you want to start counting that as mass shooting, you're just diluting and muddying the waters. That is a domestic violence incident. And that is the number one cause of gun deaths of kids, not mass shootings where, in other words, there's a different set of problems you need to solve to stop those kind of shootings. And a lot of it has to do with what I'm doing right now. It's going to be, protecting parental rights. I've been saying this forever. I have all the evidence for this. So this is what happens here. So this is not a mass shooting. I don't care how many. This is a family member who killed. Gang violence also doesn't count. And anyway, so now they're saying there's 141 mass shootings. That's just muddying the waters in 2026 alone, because they're counting anybody who is injured by a gunshot. It's just, you're just flooding things. If you look at it in a specific way, you'll be able to get at the answers to things. This is not a mass shooting. So the news agencies that properly reported it and weren't under the influence of the tobacco swamp are these two for now. So let's get on with it. A couple more. The interesting thing was I searched because I wanted to know the race of the children killed in Louisiana, their ethnicity, to know, because I'm searching for gay men, I'm searching for whenever there's a shooting, I search for people coming online who are gay or possible redheads, or if redheads were shot and killed or were anything like that. Redheads are gay, and if it's black people or something else, then I'm not going to be searching for redheads so much as, and possibly not even gay people, but I just want to know the ethnicity. And it's interesting, as soon as I mentioned race, nobody came, the searches that came up had nothing to do with mass shootings. So when I say race in the search, another thing that's going on is Google is changing the searches according to me too. So not everybody's going to get these searches. So this is it's like a moving target, you guys. So I searched mentioning the word race, and then nothing comes up mass shootings, because they're assuming I'm conservative or Republican or something. So they're not going to mention mass shootings, which is tobacco swamp, which is mostly appeals to the Democrats or the more progressive or liberal people. So if I had put up something else, they might have just shown me a whole bunch of things that say mass shootings. The first one just said Louisiana shooting, and it didn't know what political leaning I was. But here it looks like Google is trying to, refine the search results to make me happy by not mentioning mass shooting. So there's shooting, children killed, wounded. They're not going to say mass shooting, because if they do, I'm going to call BS on them, as most Republicans do. They don't like that when you're overhyping the shootings to take care of guns and to try to take guns away and this kind of thing. So that was interesting. And the other interesting thing is they just would not tell you the ethnicity for hours and hours after the shooting, even on. So the first thing I did was watch a video of the reports, and in the reports it mentioned a lot of people, and I went on YouTube and got the video of them to determine who was gay and who isn't, and I just did not find any gay people at first, at all, possibly. So Corporal Chris Bordelon is mentioned a lot. He's not gay. Just getting it out there to my crowdsourcing rules people who are investigating. Mayor Tom Arsenault is not gay. That I could tell. I just very briefly. And Chief Wayne Smith, all these guys not gay. So I had searched some more. You got to search the governor as well, who had a comment, not here, but just on X. Jeff Landry from governor of Louisiana, not gay. By the way, Mike Johnson, not gay as well. That's his congressional district, and he's the Speaker of the House. Then they mentioned somebody named Keith Burton. So this is in the CNN article. They mentioned Keith Burton, and he's the parish. He's that county or parish public school superintendent, and he had something to say about protecting our kids. It sounds like he's going. I don't know what he's going after, guns or not, but I wanted to check him out since he's being mentioned. And if anybody's going to be gay here, it's going to be him, but he's not. I didn't catch it. I think they all have this southern accent, and no, I could tell regardless of whether it's a southern accent, but maybe on this one. And I'm not going to say he is. I'm not even going to say 50-50, because usually you side with. He did not set off my gaydar definitively, but he could be if it's possible in this case. Okay, so possibly involved. Anybody who's gay is going to be involved. So one of the things when I said it was sloppy, because usually if it's tobacco swamp and they have a lot of money in collaboration, especially with the religion swamp, it's very clean with the narrative and everything afterwards. Also in a mass shooting, if it's a person and then they're killed by police at a different place, it's usually not them. They're not the ones who did the murder. So this guy, they said, this Shamar guy, that's not the person who killed anybody. It was done by professionals, but in this case they're very sloppy, because there is a witness that said she heard gunshots and saw people leaving with cars, plural, after the shooting. So who were those people leaving in cars? Because the official narrative story is the gunman fled on foot and then hijacked a car. Well, that's BS, because what it's looking like the real story is this guy, okay, so he's looking like he's Muslim with that name and not Jewish. He's probably found out from my last video on forcible retraction of the foreskin. A lot of people are finding out that their kids were somehow raped. Maybe that's part of it, or it could be some other problem. And he was going to really exposed some people for doing that to his kids, and as a result, they shot his whole family up and blamed it on him. So this is one of the reasons I'm telling you guys, just be very careful when you're going. I just please be very careful, because this is some serious shit going down. And when I say just focus on taking down the 16th Amendment, I mean it, because anything else could be very dangerous, as they did to this guy. Now, I mean, that's what I believe happened. So I would check this guy, I would check the car that he supposedly hijacked, because it seems like you had professional shooters who shot these people, who shot the kids and shot everybody, but they were very messy in that they left 2 women alive, and not on purpose. I think they thought they killed them when they didn't. So they're not, this is like it was a sloppy job. So there's 2 witnesses. I would check them out in the freaking, I would check them out. I would really be protecting them, of course, right now, because there's a lot of gay male nurses there that are going to try to kill these 2 witnesses. Okay, so keep the gay male nurses away from them. Otherwise, we're going to find out they didn't make it, or they're in a coma, or they won't be able to identify the shooters. And maybe they won't at all. If they were shot execution style from behind, they might not have even witnessed that much. But there is a 3rd witness that was mentioned, but not in all the articles. And that's what's interesting, is there was a 3rd teenage boy who witnessed it, apparently, was only minor injuries. And he's probably, I'm going to guess, gay. And he's probably right now under surveillance. He's like they're trying to put him up for the one person who's going to do the narrative. And he's not speaking right now, or something's going on, and they've got him under, okay, we've got 10 million for this narrative, 20 million for that narrative, and it's all going to rely on this one kid, and they're trying to wait until they can kill the women off so he could be the witness to do whatever narrative is being bought. So keep an eye on that 14-year-old boy. I don't know if it's a girl or a boy, but I'm assuming it's a gay teenager. And he's going to lie through his teeth for whatever narrative happened. So I would check the person who is the supposed shooter for drugs that might have put him to sleep, so that he was asleep, and they stuck him in a self-driving car, put the seatbelt on him in such a way that looked like he was driving, but it was all remote control. Check out the car, make sure it wasn't a self-driving car. If it was probably all remotely controlled to look like a chase. And the person who was hijacked or carjacked is probably gay and going to lie about that story as well. But it's not, that story is not even panning out, because the witness saw cars leaving the scene after gunshots. And she also saw a dead body on the roof, of all places. Like, what the hell is a kid being shot and killed on the roof? And then there's other witnesses that say kids were trying to escape the back. I'm not sure what's true or not here, but it just seems very messy. It seems like things did not go according to plan. So we're going to check what really happened, which was execution of this guy because he's a Muslim, and he has a lot of sons under the age of 8, and that means there was evidence that they were molested sexually by infantophiles. And he probably found out about it, and he probably knows who it was. And he's also a criminal, so he has no qualms about shooting people. He was probably going to come after the people who did this to his kids. And now they're doing the narrative where he has mental health problems or something, but that's, okay, blah, 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 1141. Let's just get on with it. But here's the witness report. It's out there. Don't let this get buried. Liza Deming, she has security cars leaving the scene. All right, you need to get on top of that, because that doesn't sound like their narrative that they're trying to say that he carjacked somebody. That body was dead in the car, or possibly asleep, and then they shot him somewhere along the way, or something happened, but the police who caught him somewhere else are in on it. There's like 1 or 2, we just shot at him and then it killed him. No, come on. You're in a car chase, shoot at a car and tell me if that could kill somebody. I mean, it doesn't happen. It's like shooting at somebody on the back of a truck. I mean, it's stupid. Okay, you're not going to be able to shoot at somebody and kill them in a car chase. All right, the stum, he was dead before they even got there, and he was either knocked out and then killed somewhere by the cops. He was already okay. Yeah, maybe they did shoot him. I don't know what it is, but it just sounds like he was dead or knocked out in that car, and remotely controlled on a speed chase was a remote control. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. That's what sounds like it happened here. The guy who got carjacked is probably gay and lying, and there's a teenager who's gonna tell the story. That's pretty much all I saw was him running out of the house and the cars leaving, according to reports from the AP. Okay. So the interesting thing is that Caddo superintendent guy, what's his name? That I just showed was possibly gay. He's only mentioned in one article, and that's from CNN. Well, there's this one from 31 Way News, but all those articles out there, he's only mentioned from CNN. So I wanted to see the reporter because that guy sounds like he's involved in it. So Caddo superintendent, what's his name, is involved. I'm trying to find out who's involved in this. He's involved, I think, because he wasn't mentioned in any other news articles except CNN when I searched it on Google. Caddo, and that was the only one that came up, was CNN. So I looked for who's the reporter doing this. It's Chris Boyette. I think he's involved. Chris Boyette. Why do I think he's involved? Well, because he looks like he's trying to control this narrative. I was trying to find out if he's gay, but I cannot find an interview of this guy anywhere. But he was, after moving to CNN National Desk in Atlanta, he was involved in overseeing another shooting, the Pulse nightclub shooting, the gay nightclub in Orlando. So I think, and the pandemic. So he's pharmaceutical swamp, and I think they blamed the Pulse nightclub on the pharmaceutical. I think they said it was mental health. So this guy, so it looks like they're leaning mental health narrative, but they're having a hard time getting it out because I'll show you why. But because all the swamps don't have any money, so they're having a hard time. And the other thing is, he's possibly not just pharmaceutical swamp and shootings, which means some tobacco swamp is involved. It's tobacco swamp and the pharmaceutical swamp kind of together a lot of times. Well, whatever, let's blah, blah, blah. So the other thing is, the infantophile swamp is probably involved. The family court, because they are involved. But Boyette, if this guy's gay, probably, I'm just guessing, but it's not a made up name. Boyette is a real name, but it sounds like he might have changed his name to this because Boyette means little boy, which is an infant boy, and it sounds like an infantophile kind of thing going on here. Boyette, I would check that out. He's involved, I think. So here he is, and all of a sudden, by 5:29, a couple hours later, we're now to the heading of it being called the mass shooting by CNN, when they started out not calling it a mass shooting. And they say, okay, so now the tobacco swamp is winning out a little bit here on the narrative by calling it a mass shooting by the same guy. This guy is shopping around to figure out where he can get money. And then in the original article that I read, I do not believe the original article had these other names in here. I thought I wish I had copied it because now I don't know. And if anybody is trying to investigate this, you have to find out what the original, if you can get all the original articles and all the changes made, and then find out who's making the changes and why. You're going to find out a lot of swamps are paying various news agencies to tell their side of the story. And they're all fighting for attention right now because it's not like the old days when everybody paid X and then X controlled the whole narrative. X had nothing to do with this. They didn't cover it at all. It was amazing and very telling. Okay, so now the narrative is kind of all over the place, but it's starting, I'll show you, it's now honing in on mental health. Possibly, okay, but so we're going to search Representative Tammy Phelps. So this is the point where, okay, there's Tammy Phelps who's being quoted, and she's talking about, don't forget that police officers and first responders and their prayers. Okay, so this is a conservative thing. When you're talking prayers, she's probably more conservative, or she's trying to lean toward more conservative thoughts. and the city council. And then we have Tabitha Taylor, and she's going to talk about prayer, but also mental health consultant. We need a mental health consultant for everybody. So this is pharmaceutical swamp shit coming in now from Tabitha, and this is all the same guy. His name is Boyette. And then we're going to talk to a guy named Grayson Boucher, who's a. So we're gonna see who all these people are and see if there's anybody gay in here. So Tammy Phelps is black, and Tabitha Taylor is black. So a while ago, I mentioned in some other videos concerning the Nancy Guthrie kidnapping, that when swamps implode and when gay Nazi assholes who run the swamps, they start to implode, they want to transfer their power to somebody safe and try to get it back from them later, or somebody that they think they can control. So they transfer their power to black women or Jewish women. And they did this in the Nancy Guthrie case, which I related to the Kelly Clarkson show, where just before this happened, they were trying to replace Kelly Clarkson, who didn't bash Trump enough, with teams of, who was it, Amber Rufflin and Ricky Lake was one team of a black woman with a Jewish woman, and the other team was Chelsea Handler with Retta, and they were all featured on the Kelly Clarkson show just ahead of the Nancy Guthrie thing going on. And so it is yes, the district where the shooting happened is predominantly black, but of course the shooting happened there possibly because they're trying to transfer women to these, CNN, this one, and then we're gonna see who Grayson Boucher is, and I determined he's also not gay, but could be, but probably not. I mean, I'm not getting any really definitive gay men who usually pop out immediately when I do this. They do not, there's nobody popping out immediately who's gay at all, even to now, except the Boyette guy that I don't have a video of. Okay, but he possibly was a redhead. So that could be, and the person interviewing him, this was an interview from 2 years ago about John Whitehorn. He supported the Republican, John Whitehorn, in a run for sheriff. Or no, not Whitehorn, he supported Henry Nicholson's. Whitehorn ran against Nicholson, and he supported John Nicholson. His brother had a wife, whatever, John Nicholson. So she's kind of redheaded, and he might be redheaded, so there could be some redheaded stuff going on here. It could be a gay man in love with this guy, and that's why he's mentioned, is that our writer, Boyette, is in love with this guy, okay? So we're going to see if John Nicholson, he has a bit of a lisp, he has a lisp of some kind, but he's not also possibly gay as well. It wouldn't surprise me if the last three guys I mentioned, or if gay people are in love with him. I still haven't found one gay guy. I think it's the reporter. He's not, I'm going to say, close but not gay. All of them are close but not gay, and it wouldn't surprise me if they were. I only have, if I can't determine it in like 10 to 15 seconds, then it's rough. Even after a minute, I'm really trying, but I'm sorry about that. I cannot tell. But okay, so then by 5:54, I just shooting in Louisiana again, Louisiana shooting, and now CNN, as I said, the title went from not mentioning any mass shootings to now it's a mass shooting. They're still mentioning domestic, but it's a domestic mass shooting. And NBC flipped. They used to say it was a mass shooting, and now there's children killed in Louisiana shooting without calling it a mass shooting. So these two flipped. And New York Times comes up, and they're calling it a mass shooting. And Washington Post is not calling it a mass shooting. So AP News is the only one that's consistently calling it a mass shooting. I don't know what Washington Post started out as, but it's just telling you where the gay Nazis are sending their money to. Wherever it says mass shooting, CNN changed its mind, NBC News changed back, so they didn't get enough money to call it a mass shooting. So they possibly went to the pharmaceutical swamp to see what it is. It's just swamps paying for the narrative and these various agents, and you have to just track down all these reporters and editors and everything like that. It's just very complicated right now, but I'm just doing an outline to show you. So now the gunman was identified at 6 o'clock. To me, I think it happened earlier. I'm just seeing all this. I'm just showing you down here in the right corner is the time I'm taking these screenshots. So now Chris Boyette is with somebody else. I don't know. A lot of times there'll be a woman's name up here, and it's just a trans woman. It's actually a gay man pretending to be a woman, so who knows? But this Chris Boyette guy is still. I'm just doing CNN. So now they've identified him as Shamar Elkins, and as I said, I was going, Shamar, what the hell? It's not. So it's multicultural. It could be Hebrew, but in this case, since he looks kind of Arabic and Muslim, it could be Muslim. Anyway, or they say that a lot of people from the like a lot of African Americans and Caribbean cultures will use these kind of names. So it could be neither of these things. So anyway, so that's not it. Here he is with his 8 kids. They have different last names, but there's definitely some boys under the age. If he is truly Muslim, he's going to have them circumcised at 7 or 8, and they're not. He might have had, but there's some boys in here, like this little baby especially, that has evidence. If they were subject to forcible retraction of the foreskin that I talked about in my last video, which I was saying my best video yet is coming up, and I think that was my best video yet because it's not, everything else is just falling from that. That was my best video ever, and it's still up. But it talks about forcible retraction of the foreskin, and there's evidence of that if they were abused as kids for some of them, and he might have found out. So let's find out a little bit more about this guy. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, let's do this. So another thing is, now there's a third name on here, and then a fourth name. You have some more people reporting the gunman, and now they're saying it's the first mass shooting in 2 years since 2024, and that's not true. The last mass shooting was in 2022, but still, they're going on and on about mass shootings, and now what are we getting? T-Mobile. So T-Mobile is religion swamp. And now it's showing up in not only T-Mobile, but T-Mobile in collaboration with Starlink, which is Tesla, which is X, or what is that called? Yeah, it's the X Corp, not X Corp. What is that? What is that called? He's trying to go to space, SpaceX. So Starlink is SpaceX, which is defense contractor swamp. So now we have religion swamp, we have family court swamp, we have, and then there's some, okay, so let's just keep going and see who else is going to be involved in this. Oh, by the way, recently on a lot of movies I've been watching and a lot of Kelly Clarkson Show episodes, it's just been all more T-Mobile all over the place now. So they are all over the place, and they are religion swamp, and Starlink is defense contractor swamp. So last year, Boyette, I was trying to look for a video, he was awarded the Emmy for his work on the network's coverage of the death of George Floyd. So he's an anti-Trumper right here. This guy, and he's got a little wedding ring, but I think he's gay, probably married to a man or married to a woman in a fake bearded relationship. But yeah, definitely behind this shooting somehow. I would check it out if he's gay or not. Also, I didn't see this earlier because I was trying to get his name at the bottom, but at the top there's a constable named Patrick Young, and he was the one, according to this guy on CNN, was the one who identified the suspect as the shooter, Shamar Elkins. Was this CNN or was this another? East Texas. Maybe that wasn't CNN. Anyway, I'm looking up Patrick Young, constable, and I can't find anything on him either, but I did find out. Oh, and I also, so here's what I did. Okay, so at this point I said, okay, what were they reporting in the initial shooting? And I lost the article. It was up, and I think even if it is up, and I kept it up at the top of the thing, I think it changes like in real time as it's just sitting there. So that article is gone, and I don't know what, but here's what I went back to see this article, and this is where this comes from. Okay, it's CBS. This is this article right here. At 6:29, you can see this. At 6:30, they're mentioning Congresswoman Gabby Giffords addressed the shooting in a statement on gun violence protection. So now this is Tobacco Swamp. Now you've got Gabby Giffords weighing in, which is going to be the Tobacco Swamp because they want to take away people's guns, and that would be Mark Kelly. So if we're looking for a senator, a gay Nazi butt fucking piece of shit asshole, redheaded, probably infantophile, behind this, it's going to be Mark Kelly. Just from they're mentioning Gabby Giffords, whom he had shot. Actually, he planned that whole Tobacco Swamp thing, and he tried to kill her, but it didn't happen. But he still took her seat, and then became So he's a no good piece of shit, and the other guy that I'm looking for is Patrick Young. So there was nothing except this video that he filmed of a house burning down, which tells me he's probably gay, and he probably is involved in burning and having that house burnt down. He has a video of it. Constable shared this video. He just happened to find. Usually it's just like everybody over at TMZ, like, they're first on the scene. I wonder why. It's because they're the ones doing it. So he probably had this fire started, and then happened to film it. So that's my guess, is he's gay. And then you have all this shit going on about Patrick Young and the Nicholson campaign, which is related to all this other stuff I was talking about. So there is a relationship between all this shit going on. There's a lot of internal shit going on at the local level involving some gay men, and I'm just not sure. I'm throwing out Patrick Young, whom I think is gay. I'm throwing out the Boyette guy, and I'm throwing out all those other guys involved in this campaign with the Nicholson sheriff and Hatfield and blah, blah, blah. So it's all here. That's all related. So what do we have? We have Patrick Young has a criminal record, and our shooter Shamar has a criminal record, which is they could be good guys that are being targeted on this. They're going to try to take the fall, because if you have a criminal record like me, you automatically are a target for this shit. It's very easy for people to believe that this guy killed all his kids because he had a criminal record in the past. So that was very important when they chose him for this, to do this. So yeah, he's not the shooter. I'm almost positive of that. And I'm not sure why they shot him. I would say it has to do with him being Muslim. So, and now they're going to go for mental health instead of religion. If he were Muslim, they would say he's went crazy over they're going to try to say over the Iran. Sorry, I say Iran and Iraq, and I know better, you guys. I know it's Iran, and I know it's Iraq. It's crazy. I'm just going by what I first learned like 40 years ago in my brain, and when I regressed and not thinking about it, it just comes out that way. And I apologize. Whatever. It's just the way it is, guys. Live with it. It's what you first learn, and it doesn't mean anything. It means I'm not caring about it right now so much, and I don't. But Iran, so the Iran war, since he's Muslim, it could be something from the religion swamp or the defense contractor swamp, but I think the Iran war is mostly religion swamp stuff. So the narrative is still forming. Right now it's this is a video of Nicholas's buddy campaign guy, Patrick Young, stealing his opponent's signs. So he's not just stealing signs, he has a criminal record for other stuff, not just this. Racism, violence, and allegations of stalking, harassing. Now that sounds familiar. So another thing is, remember, the world does revolve around me. So they're trying to relate Patrick Young to Nicole Young just because his name is Young, by saying he has a history of stalking and harassing. So yes, this could be that. He could be involved in a way that they're trying to drag his name, to drag my name. And of course that's what this might look like. So he might not be gay at all. It could just be a setup to make him take the fall for some shit coming down later. So this is what I started to do at Grok. This is where the AIs could come into handy, and now it's April 20th. So I did not meet my deadline of posting this by April 19th, but it's okay. That just means I'll ramble on a little bit longer. Some other stuff I didn't want to talk about. So I asked Grok, please list the articles about the Shreveport shooting that mentioned Gabriel Giffords. So when you do stuff like this with AIs, they're very good. The AIs, at least Grok is very good. ChatGTP wouldn't do it for me for some reason. But look at that, just The Guardian, CBS News, and these guys. These are the only three, and he's pretty good at being, Grok is really good at being thorough on this. Like, he'll find a lot of stuff that, so use Grok and find out who are the tobacco swamp people, like who the tobacco swamp is paying to mention the Gabriel Giffords thing. That's tobacco swamp. So find out who at The Guardian, who at CBS News, and WLP-AP. This is tobacco swamp shit. But they're losing out because there's only three of them. And then I asked, please list the articles about the Shreveport shooting that mention Councilwoman Tabitha Taylor. She's the one on the mental health. And I bet you would find way more now on mental health than on the tobacco swamp. And Grok said I reached the limit or something. Ever since I said Grok is helping me with my lawsuit filings and things, it's like I don't get the time of day anymore. I used to pay $30 a month and get unlimited, and then even when I didn't pay the $30 a month, I could use Grok quite a bit. And now I ask one or two questions and it cuts me off. So Grok, I might go back to paying $30 a month, but I kind of doubt it. I'm kind of sick of both Twitter and X, SpaceX, the whole fucking thing, and I'll tell you why in a minute. I think, anyway. Okay, so that's the end of that, and I would have ended it before 12, but I just wanted to go through because I wanted to explain where I got my like last week, just a couple of days ago. Do I want to end this? No, let's just go. Okay, so this is what we're going to check. We're going to check to make sure that the shooter is the actual shooter, which it isn't. It was some remote control car chase shit shot by the officers. And then we're going to check this writer guy, Boyette. He seems gay. He seems to be involved in some way. All five swamps are involved. And so what else are we going to check? We're going to check the children to see if they had been had forcible retraction of their foreskin of the boys who were killed. All right, and I'm just going to say this very quickly. I swear to God, because I was planning a video that's going to be an hour or two long over this, where I had all the receipts and everything, and I just don't feel like going back and finding them. I've been very lazy, but just very quickly on the forcible retraction issue, which the only way to stop it, you guys, is to, as I said, take down the 16th Amendment and take down their infrastructure and their finances. But in the meantime, if you try to do it on your own, you're going to have your whole family shot like this probably. But just so you know, there's plenty of proof out there. You could just, if you had money to study it, which you're not going to get, and while the 16th Amendment is still up, but I did a lot of quick searches online, and this could be true or not, but for instance, there's two main countries where the United States military had kind of an involvement in Asia, and then after the military supposedly left, these two Asian countries, South Korea and the Philippines, they're not Muslim, yet when their boys all turn 7 or 8 or 9 or become close to teenagers, they all get circumcised. And this is attributed to the U.S. military involvement over there. And that's not U.S. military involvement. That's fucking butt-fucking pieces of infantophile shitholes that went over there and they're like molesting these boys. And then when the boys reach of age, they're begging to be circumcised, just like the Muslims. Now, the other thing that happens is when they're older, they have the lowest percentage of people of males reporting to be gay. And it's not a cultural thing. It's like 2%. I really truly believe that the Asian gay gene was knocked out a long time ago by the Chinese when the gay gene was first came up. I'll go through that in the world history thing. But I think in order for this kind of abuse to turn a young infant boy on the day of their birth or within 8 days or whatever it is, to turn them gay, they have to possess the gay gene to begin with. And a lot of these boys just don't have the gay gene. Like a lot of Muslims don't have the gay gene either. So they get abused and used and everything like that. And when they get older, they're not gay, but they're begging for circumcision because they've just been abused so much that their foreskin is inelastic and doesn't. So all you have to do, seriously, since 90% of Filipinos are circumcised, and it wasn't that way until the U.S. became involved over there, that you just have to check. They're not circumcised at birth, is what I'm saying. And the same in South Korea. Just check all the boys over there, and whether they've had in both South Korea and in the Philippines. Just check all the boys. I'll bet you 90% of the boys will have evidence of having forcible retraction of the foreskin, like severe, like they had done many, many times on them. All right, and that would just take, a few months, but billions and billions of dollars, because you're not going to be able to do it before being shot and killed. So there's evidence of this shit going on in the Philippines, and the U.S. can just. It's not the military. It's just a handful of men who go over there and there's some infantophiles who have a thing for the Asians, as I said. Like, that's why this Mark Hoye, not Mark Hoye, Scott. Oh, the guy from Pentatonics. I forgot his name. But they could have a redheaded Filipino kid, and that kid would fetch. There are some infantophiles with a fetish for Filipinos, obviously, since this has been going on for decades now in the Philippines, where gay, white, American infantophiles go over there and just have a field day on Filipino boys. And same in South Korea. That's why South Korea has all this, K-pop and all this crap is all very... That's all going to implode very soon. K-pop isn't going to be a big deal much longer because they're out of money, but it's all like pushing. It's all done by infantophiles and shit over there. Stop circumcising them. It's not even circumcise them for sure because they're in pain. Just stop abusing the foreign kids, dear American gay fucking infantophiles. And you would say, well, that's easy. We can go do this and study this and get the congressperson. Yeah, good luck. 40% of Congress is gay men. Anyway, just take down the 16th Amendment and get rid of the infrastructure. That's the only thing. So then I looked over at Brazil and I said, okay, when you look at I'm just trying to find out if this causes gay men. He said the number one country that reports gay men, like 12% of the men are gay in Brazil, of all places. And you go, what the hell? Well, Brazil, South America, they have the gay gene over there for sure. All of South America, and except maybe Native Americans in the United States, for some reason, don't have it. I already explained all that, but South America definitely has the gay gene there. So, but none of them are circumcised. They don't get circumcised there. So what's going on there? Well, what's going on there... Oh, let me tell you something about the Philippines, too. Guess what the number one profession... Guess where they do a lot of the molestations is the gay male nurses. That's the number one male profession. They have more gay male nurses in the Philippines than anywhere else in the world, and that's not a coincidence. I mean, no... They have more male nurses, but when you say male nurse, it's the same as saying a eunuch. I assume it's a gay person. It's like saying a male hairdresser or a male interior decorator, whatever. I mean, when you say a male nurse, you could just assume that they're gay. And also, I have, like, one of my kids' godparents is a gay male Filipino nurse. But yeah, it's a huge profession there, and that's where the kids are getting molested in the hospital, and in various ways. They're just trusted. Many gay male nurses. So many male nurses, but they're gay, and that's what's going on. So what's going on in Brazil then? What's going on in Brazil? They have the gay gene. They're being molested, but not so much that they want circumcision. So maybe they're molested just once and not repeatedly, so that the foreskin has a chance to heal and become elastic, possibly once or twice, probably just once. So when does that happen? Well, it happens at birth within the first few days. They're molested just one time while they're in the hospital. And why are they in the hospital? Probably twice. So what keeps them in the hospital? What keeps the baby away from the mother in Brazil? Well, Brazil also happens to be the #1 country in the entire world where the child is born through cesarean section. Like, it's costlier. Like, the government gets money from the United States, of course. Every government that is in the United States gets subsidized by the U.S. gay Nazis from our whatever it is. When you take down the 16th Amendment, Brazil will not be able to afford like 70% of the women having cesarean births. They can't afford it. It's too expensive. It's like, and then when you try to ask Rock, why are they doing that when it's so expensive and they're broke? And he's going, well, it's because of capitalism. It's like, what the fuck? The government subsidizes and pays. And this is where what government, the government, it's infantophiles. It's where the billionaires come in. It's where all the money flows. It shows you the power of infantophiles, where they're able to make an entire country of women have cesarean sections so that once the baby is born, the mother has to recover away from the child. Like when there's a natural birth, the baby's there, and it's really hard to get the baby and the mother separated. But this way, when it's a cesarean section, she's knocked out. She takes some time. She's in the hospital for 3 or 4 days instead of 1 or 2 days. She's there longer, so there's more opportunity to get at the young boy born. But that's the only opportunity they have. Possibly at 3 months when they have a baptism. It's a very big deal there too. It's very Catholic. Perhaps something to do with priests. You can get at the 3-month-old. But that's just about it. There aren't gay male nurses, so I'm saying if a young infant with the gay gene gets molested, the chances are not as high as in the Philippines. Like, even though it's very complicated, but you can say that in order for the young boy to be turned gay by getting this kind of molestation, it probably has to happen more repeatedly than just that one time at birth. No. What am I saying? I'm sorry. It's the opposite. Because there are more gay males in Brazil than anywhere else, it could happen just that one time at birth. And the reason I say that is because it only happened once. If it happened more than once, or plenty of times, the boys would be begging to be circumcised by the time they're 7 or 8, the way they are in these Asian countries. So yes, I'm sorry I got that mixed up. Brazil, they get the mother, have birth through cesarean, get them separated, and they have access to the little infant penis just one time, forcible retraction, possibly twice, depending on whether they heal. But if they're there 3 or 4 days, that's not enough time for that to heal the way the circumcision. Okay, so now, the thing about these studies is they'll say these person are claiming they're gay or not, and it's very hard to determine. This is, rough estimates of what I'm reading online, but there was one where in the same study, they said, the same people doing the study said more males in Israel claim to be gay than than males in the U.S. I'm sorry, more Jewish males in Israel, percentage-wise, claim to be gay than Jewish males in the U.S. And that, I've said it before, if you look that up, that's done by the same study people. It's not like one study says this many in another study. So that has a little more accuracy if it's done by the same study, the same group of people. And that I believe, because in Israel it's more conservative, so you would think fewer men, you would think that's an underestimate, the estimate that says there are more men is actually an underestimate. There's probably even more than what they're saying. And in Israel, it's more conservative, meaning a lot more people do that Jewish kind of ritual of sucking the baby's penis at circumcision to suck the blood out and this kind of thing. That probably happens a lot more in Israel. So you're going to get a lot more gay men formed from this kind of abuse in Israel. That's why there's more reports of, there's a higher percentage of gay men reportedly. Okay, so while we're rambling, I wanted to explain why I made a comment a while ago. Oops, sorry. So just last week, I made a comment 3 days ago. I said, oh my God, I'm so happy that Alexia won. And Alexia was a singer on The Voice who wasn't on Team Kelly, and I was rooting for her. I'm not going to explain the logic maybe next year. I didn't want to explain it, even though I'm into this new explain everything mode. I'm just focusing on rom-coms right now, of all things, because it just feels like that's all I want to do. I want to finish this rom-com list for my boo, instead of all this. It's just so ugly, all this. It's ugly, but it's also, I think it's almost useless because it's just leading. I said everything I needed to say, but you could study these other things, and also for self-protection, but I think I said everything I needed to say on this. But one of the things, for the record, anybody but Liv winning would be good news, at least to me, for boo security. So this is what I'm thinking. Nothing personal to the coaches. Now, the reason I was rooting for Alexia, she's a black woman, and I wanted to so why did I say that? Well, let me just go back. Let me go back to my swamp stuff. So, I always do these stocks, and I'm not accurate because things are getting more and more difficult to. But I have these stocks that represent certain swamps. And originally, I thought the food stocks, the breakfast cereals, Smucker, Pepsi, these kind of things, there were certain food stocks that I thought were religion swamp, in addition to T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon, these kind of things. T-Mobile was my flagship religion swamp stock. And then I also mentioned, well, maybe General Mills, maybe Smucker. Where did I get Smucker from? Well, it's Jif peanut butter. Where did I get Jif peanut butter from? Well, a while ago I was doing rom-coms or doing movie reviews, and I found that Adam Sandler especially had a lot of pedophilia references in his movies, and one of them was Jif peanut butter. I showed it in one of his movies. I forget what it was called. I'm sorry, I didn't have time to go back over this. I didn't think I was going to be rambling on for an hour now that we're past midnight. But I'll do this later, you guys. I'll show all the receipts when I go over all the movies and the redheaded stuff and it gets even worse. I still have some bad stuff to report on. Sudden infant death syndrome and all sorts of crap, and I'll get through that later. But for now, I do have the receipts that show Adam Sandler plays a comedian who talks about his dad saying, "Come lick the peanut butter off my balls," when he was a boy, and that was pedophilia. But then a few scenes later, and now he's putting Jif peanut butter on his nose so that a dog could lick his nose. And he's doing that to all these little girls who wanted the peanut butter game. Okay, that was very pedophilia, and that was Jif. Now, Jif was also involved in pedophilia when it came time to Stranger Things, and Jif was also front and center. And what I thought was, it wasn't shown to be pedophilia, but it all of a sudden came up when I thought pedophiles, like these redheaded kids, and there was a lot of pedophile references, and all of a sudden they're talking about this guy smuggling Jif into Russia. Jif. It was a product placement for Jif. And I said, okay, Jif is now what I'm calling a family court pedophile, infantophile, family court swamp altogether product and a stock. And that would be J.M. Smucker, and J.M. Smucker is tanking. And I'm taking it as a good sign since 2023. I am taking this as a sign that the family court pedophile swamp is imploding. That's what this is. And there's even a and and very recently it hit a what are you, James Smucker? Is it this one? Here, like, look, it dipped below a certain line just recently, like in March. So it wasn't like it could have bounced and it didn't. And this is just free falling now, as far as I'm concerned. And me and my stock stuff. It's not, but it's just good news, is what I'm saying. To me, it feels like it is. So there were 3 flagship swamp stocks I did. The other one was General Mills. Why? Because it's Cheerios. Well, General Mills in 2 ways, actually, not just Cheerios, but I did a movie like 2 years ago that said, in the movie, what was it? The movie with shit. Anyway, the strudels or something. There was a product that came up, and it looked like product placement, and I thought, who makes this? And it was Pillsbury strudels made by General Mills, and then something to do with Travis Kelce doing some cereal ads with his brother. And I thought General Mills was specifically a religion swamp stock. But now, since Cheerios showed up specifically in a video I made uncovering, is that here? Yeah. So in January, I made a video that uncovered some infantophile stuff going on behind the scenes at the Ellen Show. And for one of the kids, she got donated or gifted a $10,000 check from Cheerios, and it was very infantophile. And I said, okay, Cheerios General Mills now is my flagship family court. I mean, I don't know why I'm laughing at that, but it's my family court flagship swamp stock. And look at it, it's also tanking. And as before, it's not really tanking from it's tanking, but only very recently, like August. So while The Voice was filming in June, July, August of season 29, there was a chance that General Mills wasn't imploding. As far as I was concerned, I thought they would bounce off this line, but they just bursted right through it, and now it's in a free fall. So that's family court swamp stuff, and I'm just trying to relate it with what's going on with The Voice people. Like, I already assigned JW, the redheaded country singer, to be the religion swamp, the infantophile, the pedophile. Not that he is one himself, but they really love redheads, and he's redheaded. They really love religions. They really collaborate with the religion swamp and this kind of thing. And I thought for sure, but he didn't win, and I took that as a sign that it's all because the family court swamp. By the time they came around to deciding who would win, the family court swamp, as of I would say January, when I made things implode, and I can't figure out, when I search online, I said, when did they film, and when did The Voice season 29 decide the winner? Because I'm having a hard time finding when the last filming date was. Nobody will say. They'll say it could be as possible as nobody knows. It's like, how could nobody know this? There was a live audience, there wasn't filmed live, but there was a real audience supposedly there. But it looks to me like they were doing what they're doing now on this story. It looks like, I said, the Voice producers kind of had a season going on, and then at a certain point they shopped around for the best, who would be the best winner. And that's why I was glad when I said anybody but Liv, because Liv had sung on the way up, she sang a tobacco song. It was a tobacco ad, and I said, oh, so, okay, so this is what we're doing. This is so dumb. So, okay, anyway, General Mills, done. General Mills that way. Flour Foods was another one. It was a Wonder Bread product placement in another Adam Sandler film, and Wonder Bread is Flour Foods, and they have been ugly from forever, and they're still going down. So the 4 flagship swamp stocks for the family court are imploding. They're out of money, and I'm happy for that, but that meant that the redheaded country singer wasn't going to win. If he did, then I thought they still had power, but they didn't. T-Mobile is a religion swamp. They bounced off of this line right here, so they imploded a little bit, but they're doing okay. I think they are still the religion swamp, but they've kind of imploded, and I think they're losing power as well. But I'm seeing a lot of, I just didn't care. I just didn't identify anybody except, anyway, Pfizer fully imploded, and now they're recovering a little bit, and this is why they're getting some money possibly to support this shooting narrative. It could be in the mental health court. Now, the one I'm most worried about is the tobacco swamp, and that was the live. This is why I was most worried, and I was going to put out a do not poo-poo this. If Liv won last week and she was crowned the winner, that means the tobacco swamp has a shitload of money. They're back on top, and they're going to do a mass shooting, and it's going to involve my boo security. So if Liv won, I was going to have a fit about her security, and it's for this reason. This is not it hasn't imploded all the way. It's looking ugly. This is not a natural progression like the other ones that imploded. There's no kind of support line here, or the support line goes through here, which means this is swamp. This is all congressional swamp money. So the tobacco swamp, I don't know where they're putting the money, but they have a lot of money. But apparently it's going elsewhere. They're like panicking, and they obviously didn't get the narrative on this one for the gun control. I don't know where they just have so many things to try to support right now that they're just out of money, and I don't know where this money is going, but it's not towards the shootings. So I probably should have put out a do not poo-poo this, saying I don't know what. It's just that I didn't know there was going to be this kind of a shooting. But all 5 swamps, I can't predict that. It's like when all 5 swamps come out, but it wasn't Altria though. They're not the major ones because the story is now. Anyway, this is what I meant when I said I'm happy Alexia won. Because, yes, it's a black woman, and the other reason is, yes, during the time when this was probably filmed at the end of early to mid-January, this is when they were also doing the stuff with all these black women and the Jewish women, religion and the black women. It's like Jewish and black women were coming on the Kelly Clarkson show. I think they had allowed power to kidnap Nancy Guthrie, all this stuff, but that has since imploded. Nancy Guthrie has come back. I since exposed it with my videos. It feels like that imploded. So if Alexia won a month ago, whatever power they had at the time when she won has now been imploded. So I'm glad Alexia won. I didn't want Liv to win because that meant the tobacco swamp was still controlling NBC. It's very complicated. Now you see why I didn't want to explain it. It's not all as definitive as it used to be a year or two ago. It's so many pieces, and it's all hunch work now and throwing spaghetti against the wall. But it's hard to explain. But it's just boo security is number one, and obviously I'm not going to say that anymore because I say boo security and I feel safe, and then all of a sudden shit happens. But this didn't involve her, so that's good. But still, this is still hitting too close to home. I mean, this is 5 days after I'm saying I'm not going to put out a do not poo-poo this. But who could have predicted? Well, you could predict if it's going to be do not poo-poo. This is going to be very political. It's going to involve all 5 swamps. It's going to be very messy because they're in disarray. But I can't predict. Well, what could I have said that prevented this? It's just like, what could I say that's going to prevent, kids from being molested in the Philippines and in South Korea and in Brazil? I could say it, and it's not like I'm the only one who knows this. A lot of people know this. A lot of people know this is what's going on, including probably Trump. But there's nothing he could do when, what he's doing is he's focusing on getting their finance. It's the only way to do it. Help Trump get rid of their financial and their infrastructure. Because that's the only way, and it's the only way to do it safely too. Anyway, 12:31. So I speak for almost an hour. I do want to say most recently. What else did I have up here? Okay, so lately, oh, and then so this is what it was at 10:52 before I did this. Now we have AP News has now flipped. They used to say mass shooting. Now they're not saying mass shooting anymore. The Guardian is still saying mass shooting. And Fox has flipped. And now Fox is saying mass shooting. And CNN is back to not saying mass shooting. Oh no, it is deadliest. Okay, they're still on mass shooting. But here I looked at the Shreveport Times. They didn't have mass shooting, so I looked into it to see what was going on. And it was all T-Mobile advertisements again, which makes sense. So if the Shreveport Times is religion swamp, which is what's going on here in this article, they're going to be competing with the tobacco swamp. So the article is not going to say mass shooting and then be sponsored by the religion swamp. Okay, the religion swamp and the tobacco swamp are fighting for attention. It's going to say prayers and other things. You know, we're going to pray for these people, but it's not going to say it's a mass shooting. Because that's what T-Mobile is, mostly religion swamp. That's all I wanted to say here. These T-Mobile ads are coming up all over. And then the last thing I wanted to do was Netflix. So I think the world does revolve around me slightly, and I think people are seeing what I'm working on before I do a video. It's very easy for people to hack in and see what I'm doing. Even my own Wordle people probably do this. But and I'm doing rom-coms, and there's like everybody knows that I'm loving the Netflix change. So I did some swamp stock tutorials a long time ago and predicted Netflix stock was tobacco swamp, and look at that, it went down a lot just recently. But I said right around here it's tobacco swamp and sell it or something, like right over here in 2022, and then it went up 500%. So I was really wrong on this. But what I didn't see was what happened during the Stranger Things is they jumped the bail. They stopped doing cigarette ads. They kept doing them a little bit, but they started doing defense contractor, obviously. They started doing some pharmaceutical stuff. They started doing some pedophilia stuff with the little redheaded kids. It was very pedophilia, family court swamp money, and religion money, whatever, on and on. So that's what happened here. But that also imploded. But lately, so let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you something. I think it's going to be a great stock. I think it is a great stock because it really bounced. Oh, just get it done. It bounced. I think it's fine. I think they've purged their gay Nazis out of there is what I'm saying. Same with Pepsi, did the same thing, but I'm not going to do that. We're just going to go on. But I did want to say that recently, did I do some more? Let me just go to the end. Okay, Kelly. Anything else? Yeah, I also made the video. This is the video where I talked about the black woman. On February 2nd, when Kelly quit the season right after that, said no more season 8. But I mentioned Ricky Lake, Amber Ruffin, and Chelsea Handler and Retta. What else? Oh, while I was doing this, I got an Amber Alert. Not an Amber Alert. I got an alert that said I could return to my house, and I didn't even get evacuated. But it turns out that there is a very big drought that I didn't realize in Alachua County, where I live, since last August. The biggest rainfall, I didn't realize this, was June through September, and we didn't get enough rain so that there was a drought by August. And in the last 130 years, so we are at risk right where I am of being just wiped out by wildfires the way they were in California. I didn't realize this until I found out that there were 2 fires just north of me today. And I didn't get the notice to evacuate, though they were just 3 miles away. It was very close. I did get the notice that the evacuation was off, so I was right outside the range of it. And I checked and I said, there were which way were the winds today? The winds were coming from the north. I said, when is that common in Gainesville. Nope, it doesn't happen in April or March. It happens by January and February. You'll get from the north, but the rest of the year it comes in from the west. So we're getting winds from the north today. It looked like an attempt to burn me down. Since the world does revolve around me, I just wanted to alert my crowdsourcing rules people, especially you, Trump man. Like, come on, man. I'm here. It looks like somebody started these fires and made a feeble attempt, another feeble attempt, to send the fires down through Gainesville. Because I was smelling stuff outside. I thought people were doing a campfire. I didn't know that, and we came close to being evacuated without me realizing it. But I did get that alert, and I just wanted to say, watch out, because the rainy season is coming up in May and June, and so you better give us a lot of rain this season. I don't want to be doing this shit next year at this time. That was a man-made drought, and they did their they shot their load today, and it came close, but no cigar today. They weren't able to get the winds up to what they wanted, but stop this drought shit. Okay, that's all with that. Oh, while I'm here on the same map, it just reminded me, it's right here, the Gainesville Airport. This is the Grace. This is what I did. Remember my favorite video? My car was repossessed on a Saturday evening at around 7 or 8 by, it's just my gay baby daddy, whatever. He's since been forgiven by Trump. I don't know what's going on. It's just BS, whatever. I mean, it turned out to be the best thing that happened to me. It usually happens this way. But I walked. I asked him if I could collect my stuff. I had a comforter in there for my daughter that I wanted to keep, and he said later, whatever. But I did bring my laptop and my little thing, my little leather, carrying your load with me, leather bag, and a backpack. 9 miles I walked, and I had no money. Walked 9 miles to the Grace homeless shelter up here, and right when I turned the corner here, this is called 39th Avenue. So while I'm walking there, I didn't realize that it's also called Highway 222. So that's all. I just wanted to give reference to this, my favorite video that I made called The Biggest Fan of My Life. I walked right around this corner, and then there's a big sign that says 222, which to me is Word Girl Gigi. That's Gianna Bryant, Kobe Bryant's daughter. I always thought she talks to me. She likes words, and I always thought I get some help from her in the other world to fight all this stuff. Word Girl Gigi, go. So when I saw 222, because her favorite number was 2, I said, there's Word Girl Gigi. But I laughed. I thought I was on the right path. And then I came into the homeless shelter. The best thing that ever happened to me, because I was able to get into an apartment. I'd probably still be living in my car otherwise, because it's hard to get into an apartment anywhere when you have been living in your car and you don't have the references that you have at a homeless shelter. And they are like the best homeless shelter on the planet for helping me with that. And once I got in, I was all set. So anyway, walked 9 miles that night. It started at 8, and it was right past midnight when I did that video. That's all. What else do I have here? So last week, I commented on Whitney Cummings' video, and I said, and if you were, I was telling her I'm doing my rom-com list instead of anything else. I was promising all sorts of stuff for my boo's birthday, and it's just going to be the rom-com list, because I just can't do this I can't do this infantophile stuff for a birthday present. It's some of my best work, yes, and I already did some things, and right after her birthday, I will go into it, I promise, and go into some of the Bible work and other stuff, okay? But for now, I'm just, I just don't want to do it. And it turns out, I think it's the right thing to do, because the rom-com list has also got some bad news, and it does reveal a lot of infantophile and pedophilia stuff. But anyway, and also, I was very discouraged for the longest time, but then I just saw this recent list of the 30 best rom-com of the last 5. That one wasn't one of them. That was a very political. That was horrible. What was that called? But I mean, a lot of them are my top 30. Look at the number 1. Anyway, no. Okay, I don't want to. Okay, we're not going to go into that. But there was very good news recently on this. So I want good news for your birthday, baby girl. That's all. And it's some of it's going to be good news, and some of it's like horrible. But what did I do? What am I doing? What am I doing? Where am I? Just really fast. So at the very end, I said, also, she's done some rom-coms. Also, if you're thinking about trying out another rom-com, go to Netflix. They are really killing it in recent rom-coms, including the one I just mentioned above, called The Half of It. I can't believe it. I can't believe I found another rom-com. That's like 5 that have what's going on with the video here? But okay, I'm gonna end it because the video is. Did it stop? Wow, the video is lagging. I got to get out of here. Okay, so that's it. But I wanted to say that Netflix stock dove today or last Friday, and when I'm posting all this stuff, I think it has to do with me saying that they're really, really like purging. I mean, these rom-coms came out in 2020. Some of them 2020. Like that meant 7 years ago they were developing this, and they were like, it's good stuff. They're fighting for it, but I'm so impressed with Netflix's rom-coms. And I just wanted to say that they dipped by 10% is a good time to buy it right now. Buy Netflix. Actually, just buy the Dow. Buy the Dow only because when I start doing this shit, it's not good. But if you're interested. So, just for the record, Greg Peters is gay. Ted Sarandos is gay. And Reed Hastings, who just announced last Friday that he's stepping down from the board of directors. And he used to be the CEO. This was 30 years. He's the founder of Netflix. He is stepping down. I think he was a bad gay. I think he's rotting. I think this is booting out the bad people. And I think these guys are good gays, maybe not. But keep fighting over there at Netflix, okay? Because somebody or somewhere is really thwarting all the swamps and is really doing some good non-gay stinking fucking stupid. Just say no to the butt fuckers type. I always say that. They're just really doing good rom-coms. And I'm just very impressed with that because that is the future. That's where they have a lot of control, and it's very important to them because it's narrative and it's just narrative, and it's very important to put out certain cultural ideas and things. And a lot of the gay stuff is just falling flat now, I think. And now that somebody's on the right track over there is what I'm saying. And what else? That's it. So when I said just don't worry about any of it, invest in the Dow, I've been saying that forever. I'm going to do this real fast because so this was the Obama kind of Obama Dow. And it went down in 2020 for the fake pandemic. When Trump was doing well, this was the Trump Dow before the fake pandemic kind of killed him. So that's the difference between the Obama Dow, the tobacco swamp Dow, and the Trump Dow when he's undoing the swamps. But since then he's been doing fine because the Trump Dow, since then, the first Trump Dow is this one. And then the second Trump Dow is this one, that one, and then this one. And then the third Trump Dow is this one. You can see it's just going exponentially upward, and as I predicted. So it's just going to keep doing that. And Coca-Cola has been doing that. I've mislabeled Coke before when it was Pepsi, but even Pepsi, what are the things that I said before that I said were swampy? I said Pepsi, Pepsi Company was religious swamp, but they bounced. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm doing this because I had it and I'm just gonna get it out right now. Because I just want to do rom-coms, and I don't want to have to do this until the end of April. Any more of this stuff. Just for helping you guys out. And it's the end of this anyway, so you could just... So this one bounced. Look at that big bounce for Pepsi. Remember the General Mills didn't bounce. It just went whoop. But Pepsi, nope. They're going to be okay, I think. And then once I accused... These are all things that have cleared out they're on their way to clearing out the gay Nazis. KO. So I said Coca-Cola was a religion swamp and it was going to tank, and I was wrong. It's doing the opposite. It's acting more like Dow. So I think they're going to be okay. They started out, like that, and then they kind of went like this, and then they went like this, and now they're like this. They're doing the same thing as the Dow. Coke is. So it's fine. Anyway, I just wanted to retract that because it's very complicated when I start doing the media swan stock tutorials and stuff, and everything is kind of, there's some swap, but I'm sticking with the recent my flagship stocks, and I'm still worried about the damn tobacco swamp. I think it's just not. I'm really worried about that they're. But the good news is, even though the even though the stock is going up into getting money from somewhere, it doesn't seem to be going into another mass shooting. But maybe they're saving up for a big one, like a big something happening. Okay, that's it, guys. I keep thinking I'm forgetting something, but I'm gonna post this before 1 o'clock. It's gonna be out. Hang in there, everybody. Godspeed to everybody coming out the other side in one piece. It's a good day for a great day. Onward, Christian soldiers who aren't Christian anymore. I'm going to have the rom-com list for you, baby girl, by August 24th. That's all I want to do right now. That's all I feel like doing, and it turns out to be a good thing. I think I'm really hitting them where it hurts. Netflix stock took a huge dip today just because the bad guy went out and buy it. I mean, that's dumb. They're trying to do a narrative where it's bad because they got rid of this swamp. I mean, that was the best thing that ever happened was Reed Hastings, gay guy who started this thing, is totally swamp, I believe. When he announces he's stepping down from the board, then CNN is what? Warner Brothers, by the way, which is going over toward. It's just really, I think they're, well, I don't know, man. They had like SpongeBob SquarePants stuff. The studios had Ellen. I mean, I still think they have a lot of swampy stuff going on, but the Netflix stuff and actually Netflix not buying Warner Brothers might be a good sign because they had too much pedophile shit going on over there at Warner Brothers. Maybe. I think they're cleaning house and they're not quite clean. That's why Paramount P-Sky went down a lot, and it's going to be a while, but I think Netflix just did a very smart move. I just am so impressed with their rom-coms. It's telling me everything, and I'll go on the rom-com list and keep an eye out. And anybody wanting to do real rom-coms that are going to be top 11 or last a long time and not be dated and influenced by gay tobacco swamp. It also depends on the people over there that you're working with. It sounds like, because there are some Netflix movies that are not good rom-coms, and they're trying. You could tell that some of the ones that are done by the people influenced by gays and the ones who aren't. So get into the right crowd over there, but it's just off the charts. I think there are 4 or 5 that are top 11 potential over there. I'll go through them. Bye. Godspeed to everybody coming out the other side in one piece. Bye. I'm not editing this. I'm just putting it up. I'm getting back to my rom-com work. I really love it. Bye. Where's the end? Bye.